Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome back to Sully's Models. So, in this video we're going to be looking at the painting part of the model. We're going to be looking at markings and the camouflage. The markings I've decided to do myself. I've only put a handful of decals on. Most of these are sort of the stencil part information, stencil parts. Everything else I decided to mask out myself, so that's from the roundels, the registration, and the invasion stripes. I've done all that by hand, made things a little bit more difficult for myself, but to be fair, the results always, I find, painting the markings on come out better. To be fair, you don't get the sheens on the decals. You've got to try and get that out. Also, when you come down to your weathering, and particularly like panel lining and whatnot, you know, it just sinks in obviously a lot better. So I'll quickly tell you about how I've done the markings, because I didn't do a bit of that video to put in this video. So all you're really going to need is sort of for particularly, this is mainly for the roundels, this is circle cutter. Pick these up cheap enough, but you know, they're all adjustable. But because it's been 48th, I could only go so small with this, so I then ended up having to use one of these scribers, because I needed one that was about, I think it's around there somewhere, so you know, it's quite small, and a very sharp blade and some masking tape. You know, it's simple enough to do, but whether it turns out alright in the first place, you know, sometimes, you know, if you've got particularly, it's mainly if you're having blunt blades, you know, pulls the masking tape a little bit. So but yeah, that was it's easy enough really. I may later on actually do a completely sort of separate video on that kind of doing sort of them sort of things. The invasion stripes, I'll get into that further into the video. So without further ado, we'll get into the painting. So first, prime the model using Vallejo matte black, and for what I call reverse shading, I'd use some white paint. So I thin the white down roughly 30% paint, 70% thinner. You don't really need to be too neat with this. Sort of the messier the better, really. I did try and add a bit of pre-shading for the oil stains later on, but turns out I didn't actually do this as heavy as I probably should have. So basically, when we painted over, everything was basically concealed. So as you can see here, the markings I'd made myself. Worked my way up from the lightest colour, obviously, to the darkest colour. I've done all the markings first because I wanted to have them to have the same sort of mottling as the camouflage would as well. Sometimes you tend to find, you know, if you put your markings over the camouflage, it can be a little bit dark. You know, you don't quite get the mottling over the top. So I thought I'd try something a little bit different this time. So after particularly the letter stenciling, after cutting those out, I kept the letters that I'd obviously cut out, because obviously you're going to want to, you know, keep these so you can, you know, cover up the letters you've done for when we put the camouflage on the top later. Also saves you trying to you know, make new ones as well. So here's the more difficult part of putting the invasion stripes on. Now I have done this the more complicated way of masking out the white and the black separately. You could just do basic white and then the black stripes over the top. It is a lot easier and a lot quicker. But like I said before, I want to try and keep this mottling, you know, pretty much the same straight across the board. So, said at the start of the video, invasion stripes were never crisp and clean lines. They were, you know, hand painted with the weakest of paint, which is basically to make this go as far as possible. So to try and emulate that in modelling is very difficult because obviously, you know, scales and whatnot. So I watered the paints down and hand painted them on, as you've seen, to give those streaky, you know, rough look. And then afterwards, very, very lightly with the colours, go over the top of it. This fills in, you know, a lot of the stark spaces, and then afterwards, you know, it should show through as, you know, quite a rough paint job, but without looking naff, basically. Now doing this with the black is a little bit more difficult because obviously it's quite a heavy colour, so it doesn't quite always work, you know, trying to go over it with the black, but you know, I think you agree, I actually managed to pull particularly the black off quite well, and you know, I'm pretty happy with the results. So next we can move on to the main camouflage. Now as you can see, I've masked all the invasion stripes off, and starting off with the belly, again because it's the lighter colour, and as you can see, as I said before, all that pre-shaded underneath I completely lost, which is no big issue, really. It was sort of something I was trying out, but there you go. The camouflage, obviously again starting with the lighter colour, I roughly marked out where the camouflage is supposed to be, and then filled in, you know, all the light grey areas, and then after that I will mask out the camouflage properly. So this is where all the years of boredom of rolling up, making little sausages of blue tack comes in useful. You never thought it'd be a thing, but it is now. So using blue tack, this is making them little old sausages, and basically masking out markings. Now the reason I'm doing this is because particularly on the later ones, you tend to find that the markings are quite sharp lines, rather than as opposed to some of the feather ones, and using the blue tack, you know, it doesn't attack the paint that you've already put down, and it will give, you know, the flexibility to make the markings. and then quite simply we move to the dark green and fill in all those blank spaces. So it says the you know, with the blue tack, you know, you just spray over the top of it, and as you'll see towards the end, you know, these nice crisp but slightly feathered lines, but they're really neat, and they look you know, they look right basically. So yeah, it's quite a cool technique to use. And also blue tack afterwards, put it into a ball and use it again later. So you see, because I've pushed it down quite well onto the model, but using the blue tack itself to remove any you know, bits that are still stuck onto it. But like I says, it doesn't attack the paint or anything, doesn't leave any, you know, residues or anything like that. So it's a real cool you know, thing to use, and like I says, it's reusable. And all that's really left to do now is remove all our maskings, revealing our letters and the invasion stripes, and obviously our roundels. So I'm sure you could agree, all round, it's worked out quite well. Okay, there's a few areas that need a little bit of touching up, but it still turned out pretty good. So there you go, guys. That's all the painting done. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, and you're not already, please subscribe to the channel. Give us a like if you liked it, dislike if you didn't. Also, please leave us a comment on either of those. It does, you know, help me along with the channel. But yeah, thanks very much again, guys, for watching. There'll be links in the description below for previous episodes if this is the first one you're seeing. But yeah, thanks very much, guys, and I'll catch you again soon.